I don't know what was the, I don't know what was the charge. I don't recall, but when we came down here on the Freedom Ride.
You were one of the Freedom Riders that left Nashville, coming to Birmingham.
Yes, when the bus was burned in Anderson, when Cora gave up the ride.
Yes.
And so a number of us that was kind of like the Die-Hard 7, I think we called ourselves. We said the ride must go on.
Right.
And so then we took up the Freedom Ride.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So you picked it up as a result of the individuals being attacked in Anniston.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Students at Tennessee State decided that they were going to do the same thing and pick up the ride so that it would not die.
That's right.
So you rode from Nashville to Birmingham.
That's right. It was FIS and ABT, the American Baptist Theological Seminary.
Yes. Tell me about that ride. What do you remember about it?
Oh, I remember almost everything about that ride.
You boarded the bus in Nashville. Were there any problems in Nashville?
No, there were no problems in Nashville. A lot of photographers, and it was, we had a fantastic send-off, and it must have been early morning, and the fellow I eventually married came on that ride with us, and I think it was about 11 of us.
All black?
No, there were, I believe it was 3 whites, 1 white fellow, and 2 white girls, and they were attending FIS, I believe. They were attending
FISC at the time?
Yes, and the fellow, I'm not sure whether he was at FIS or Vanderbilt. He could have been at, he could have been at Peabody, one of those schools there.
Were there any stops between Nashville and Birmingham?
Yes, at the time, the police, they stopped us just before we got into Birmingham, and my husband, which was Paul Brooks, was taken off of the bus, and also the white fella, because they were sitting together, and they were taken to jail.
They were arrested?
Yeah, they were arrested.
And this was this by Birmingham police or by state troopers? Do you remember?
I don't remember whether it was state troopers or Birmingham.
But this was before you got to Birmingham?
Right.
Okay. When you arrived in Birmingham, what was the reception?
Well, we had all the policemen there, and we were trying to go on to Montgomery and then on into Jackson, and the bus drivers refused to drive us. He refused to drive us any further, and so we couldn't find. That's right. So this was the time where we couldn't find a bus driver.
Okay.
Okay, and so I think we were here for about 18. Oh no, I'm gonna back up some. We were eventually taken off of the bus, and then taken to jail.
All right.
As old Bull Connor said, for our protection. And then we were taken out of jail. It was around midnight. I'll never forget that. Lucretia was with me. And they said that they was going to take us, they came for us. The matron told us to get ready, that they was going to take us back to Nashville. And so we got up, put our clothes on, and so we weren't putting our clothes on fast enough. I'll never forget that. She came back and she said, "Did I tell you all to get your clothes on?" So we said, "We didn't ask to come in here, so we don't have to rush." And so we didn't rush. So we took our time because we weren't really interested in leaving.
This was 9 of you, approximately 9 of you at that time?
Yes.
Okay, and how were you transported from Birmingham, from the jail, back to Tennessee?
When they came to pick us up, one of the white girls, I understand that Bull Connor had called her father, and her father had picked her up. I don't know what happened to the other white girl, whether they had just sent her back home or what. And so Lucretia and I was refusing to leave. In our training, we had been taught to just go limp. And so I refused to walk out, and so one of the guards picked me up and carried me out of the jail and put me in a car. And it was, I understand, it was a man in there from the white fella from the Birmingham News, I believe. Said he was from the news. I don't know whether he was from the news or not. And Bull Connor, and seemed as if we stopped in Kerman and picked up a man at the time that I assumed was a priest or a minister or something because he had a collar on. And then they carried us, and then they had the fellas.
Okay.
And they carried us to the state line. And the name of that little town is Atmore or Otmore, Alabama, between Tennessee and Alabama.
Okay.
It's either Atmore or Otmore.
Okay. I know Atmore is south.
So it must be Otmore then.
Okay. Maybe. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that town.
Well, there's a little town there right on the
So
bridge.
they put you out there.
That's right.
Did the Tennessee officials pick you up?
No. Mm-mm. Well, Bull kind of told us that where he put us out, he told us that was a bus station, and that we could get back to Nashville. And I told him we'll see him back in Birmingham by high noon. And at the time, we didn't know that was a warehouse, and of course the place was not open. So, you know, through being black, and I guess I'm a little older than you, so I don't know whether you were kind of taught this down the road or not. You kind of always taught a little how to survive and where to find the black people. Mm-hmm. And it seems as if we were always told that, you know, go across the track. Mm-hmm. And some of the fellas left to find some black families. And they did, and understand that it was only 6 black families in that town. Mm-hmm. And so the Lord was really with us, and we did find one of those black families.
So there were 5 or 6 of you.
At that time, it had to have been 6, 7, 8, something like that.
What did the black family do? The
man came to the door, and I could understand that now, and I understood it then. He was afraid to let us in because, you know, I guess it had all been on the news and everything, and at that time, of course, we thought the Klan was coming once, you know, we found out that was not a bus station, and why would they just put us out right there? And so I had always been taught, you know, to wake up the lady, and that she would probably, that her mother instincts and all this would probably take over. So I figured that if we talked loud enough and long enough and wake up his wife, that we were going to get in. Mm-hmm. So we did. And they let us in, and we called back to Nashville, and Diane Nash, quite sure you know of her.
Sure.
She was coordinating the Freedom Ride from Nashville, so we called her because they was wondering, you know, what had happened to us, and we called her, and she sent a car down, and Leo Little was driving to pick us up and to bring us back to Birmingham. And so we almost made it by high noon.
Okay, so you came back to Birmingham.
Oh, no, we didn't go back to Nashville.
So when you came back to Birmingham, you attempted to get on the bus again, right?
We went to Reverend Shellsworth. I guess he's Dr. Shellsworth now.
Yes,
we went to Reverend Shellsworth house then, and so I think they did call my mother to let her know that, you know, that we were all right, and then they fed us. Okay. And then we went back to the bus station. I think that was when we were there for about 18 hours, waiting, trying to get a bus driver. Right. And I understand that was when, I think it was Bobby Kennedy called down here and told them to give us protection and give us a driver.
Mm-hmm. So your mother didn't know that you were in Birmingham the night before then? You didn't call home?
She knew that we were coming, but she didn't know what had happened to us.
Okay.
Because in order to leave school, you know, school was still going on at the time. Right. And so, backing up some, so we had to go to the dean of women to get permission.
So you actually got permission to participate?
To leave school, but we told her we weren't coming for permission, that we was coming to tell her what we were going to do. Oh. And so then, since we were going to tell her, so she figured out a way how we could do it. Mm-hmm. And so my mother invited Lucretia, which was from Georgia, to come and visit me.
Oh, okay.
And so
you were headed home, in effect. and Bull Connor met you and decided that you were better suited to be back in Tennessee.
Yes.
Okay. So upon your arrival back then in Birmingham, you were here for 18 hours. Did you eventually get a bus driver to take you from Birmingham to Montgomery and on to Jackson?
Yes. And yes.
What was the reception in Montgomery?
All hell broke loose. On our way down, seemed to have been peaceful. You had all the police protection. We had the helicopters flying over and all the protection. But when we got to Montgomery, all the protection left. And it seemed as if there were just a few white people standing around at the time. And all of a sudden looked like hell just broke loose. I don't know where all of them came from. And they were angry. And they started in on the news photographer first. Newspaper, they started beating them. And then after that, they started after us, and that was when Jim Swerd, I'm quite sure you've seen those pictures throughout the ages, and was beaten, blood running everywhere, and one of our congressmen now was with us on that bus, John Lewis, which is Congressman John Lewis now. Right. And they were trying to put the girls in a cab, and I remember seeing some of the fellas jump over, which at that time to me looked like it was a cliff, but it was a wall there at that bus station.
Is this the footage that is shown on the Eyes on the Prize series?
Could be.
Yeah. There was a bus that was met in Montgomery, and they suggest the same thing, that the police were there, and all of a sudden they disappeared.
Yes, that's it.
So, but I know that you then were able to get the bus from Montgomery to Mississippi, right? To Jackson.
No, there was a lot of action going on in between that time.
Okay. All right. Tell me about that action that was going on. But what happened to the girls?
Interesting question. Okay, as now, if there were two or three white girls. Now, one of them had been sent, her father had picked her up. And we got this cab. At that time, blacks and white could not ride in the same cab. Blacks had gone a black cab, whites going in a white cab, and so the cab driver was afraid. And so he was saying that he could not carry us together. And the mob was just there then.
Were these the same girls that had been with you in Birmingham, that parents had come and got them, that they had sort of disappeared and you didn't know where they were when you were going back to Tennessee? Did they meet you back in Birmingham?
Now, there have been some people to join us in Birmingham. Okay. Now, and I think that these were some whites that came down to join us. Now, it may have been one of them, may have been with us that left from Nashville. But when Bull Connor carried us back to this little town on the state line, he did not take any of the white girls back, so they could have been just left there. But at any rate, when we got to Montgomery, and this cab driver was refusing to let these two whites in, but eventually,
this was a black cab driver.
A black cab driver, and he was afraid. He was afraid. As a matter of fact, when he did get in, he was going to get out, and I told him, "Get out, I drive." But then when I looked down, it was a stick shift, and I could not drive a stick shift.
Did he get out and
No, he was not. No, I told him to get out. I would drive.
Okay.
But then I could not drive a stick shift, so we pleaded with him to stay in and to just take us to a black community, just any black community, and then we would get out. And so he did.
And then what did you do when you went to the black community?
We went to the black community, and we made some phone calls to let them know. I think we called back to Nashville to let them know where we were and that we were safe. And then we stayed there, and the area that we was in, the people fed us, and eventually someone picked us up and carried us. I forget the name of the fellow's house that we all ended up. And so then we ended up there in the church, which was, I don't know if that was the same night or the next night, you know, when they had to call in the reserve,
Yeah, right.
when they was going to attack the church.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So then were you, from the church, did you go back and eventually get to Jackson, Mississippi?
From the church, a number of us had some tests to take back at Tennessee State. So I was one of the ones who had to, we were still in school, remember, this was in, I guess, toward the end of May. And so I went back to Tennessee State to take some final exam.
This is
And-
in what, 61?
Yes, yes.
61, okay.
And then some of the group went on to Jackson.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Lucretia went on to Jackson because she had finished her test. As a matter of fact, she was graduating. So at that next month, and after I finished my my test, then that's when I then went on the second Freedom Ride, straight on into Jackson.
What was your reception when you arrived in Jackson?
Captain Ray, I'll never forget his name.
Captain Ray.
Captain Ray. Captain Ray arrested all of us on the spot.